What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of On the Floor with Liv and Cor. I'm Cor, that's Liv, and we are not on the floor because our bodies hurt from watching so much gymnastics this weekend. It was amazing. But you guys, we have so much to talk to you about. Olivia, how the heck was your weekend?
I made a dent in my couch from watching so much gymnastics on TV, and I consider that to be a successful start
Right.
to my gymnastics content viewership statistics.
Come on, let's go. Okay, we're gonna cut straight to the chase, you guys, because we have so much to gab about today. This is crazy. So we're getting straight to it. Bubbles. You guys, I went and got the strawberry sunset bubbles because I didn't want to take one out of the trash can this time. Here's the secret. Last week I held up a can of this same bubbles, but it was already open and it was in the trash from the night before, and I didn't actually drink it on camera. So I'm like pleading for forgiveness. Strawberry sunset bubbly. What do you
The
got over there?
things, the things we do for the bit. I got a classic LaCroix orange. My boyfriend loves LaCroix orange, so thank you, Bryce, for having this in the fridge.
I love it. Well, cheers to week 2 of gymnastics, episode 28 to you, Liv. Cheers to
Cheers.
that. Okay, Liv, this weekend I was in Salt Lake City at the Sprouts Farmers Market Collegiate Quad. Rolls off
Rolls
the
off the
tongue.
tongue.
And I was thinking about you the whole weekend because there's two things that I prioritize when I go to Salt Lake City. One, drink as much water as possible. Two, chapstick always. So I was thinking about you. But what are the Liv's lips of the week
Thank you
for
so
us?
much. This week's Liv's Lips is one that I believe I've shared previously, but it is the Kosas Wet Lip Gloss. I love her. I'm almost done with her, and I actually brought her on this episode to remind myself to finish it before I crack open a new one because I tend to do that and I have so many lip glosses floating, it gives me anxiety. So, Kosas, very good. Color unhooked.
The lid is really amazing to me. I'm not gonna lie. Really,
It's
really.
aesthetic, that's for sure. I'm a huge fan of it.
And I know everyone's wondering what lip gloss, or I'm sorry, chapstick I used. And this is my Blistex medicated lip balm. Not sure what medicated means. SPF 15. And yes, I did purchase it while purchasing a Smart Water at Hudson News in the airport. So that
Shout
is
out Hudson News.
Hudson News. All right. Gymnastics chat. Let's start with the Sprouts Farmers Market. Oh.
Clearly, it doesn't roll off the tongue.
You guys, let's start with the Sprouts Farmers Market Collegiate Quad. We had 2 sessions of incredible gymnastics this weekend, but Liv, it was quite the weekend. Some great matchups. So, what do you want to know? I'm here. I'm here. I was there. I was on the ground. Well, on the
You were
floor.
on the floor.
I was on the floor, played hype man role this weekend, and it was such a great opportunity. It was so, so, so cool. Really stoked to see gymnastics on ABC, again on ESPN2 later in the day. Really impressed with like the overall like production that ESPN events brought to the Sprouts Farmers Market Collegiate Quad. But what do you want to know about?
Well, you were there, so tell us things that we don't know. We saw the broadcast. The broadcast was great. We saw tons of routines. Exciting to see what a matchup for that first quad. And the second one ended up being incredibly exciting as well. So, two fabulous competitions. But give us tea, give us deets. Like, what was happening BTS on the floor of the Sprouts Farmers Market Collegiate Quad? Rolls off the tongue.
Rolls off the tongue. You know what I'm saying? What I'm gonna say is that, I scrolled Twitter a little bit throughout the meet and I wasn't letting it like impact my performance or impact anything that was happening there. But it's just some great like notes to take. And so I want to answer some questions that I saw pop up. One of the questions that I saw was how was the starting event decided for both of the sessions? And this particular meet took the approach that they took the final rankings in the 2025 season, and then they assigned in each session the top ranked school from 2025 got vault, the second place team got bars, third place got beam, and the fourth place got floor. So as you can see, that's how it went, where it went Oklahoma, UCLA, Utah, and then LSU. In the evening, session, same thing is why we saw Michigan State, who qualified to nationals, started on vault. And then you had Cal started on bars because they finished the season in ninth. Kentucky finished in 10th, and then Michigan finished in 17th last season. So that's why they started on floor, the fourth event in the Olympic order rotation. So that answers one question. Um, another thing I wanted to mention was there was this big discussion that I kept seeing about why was there a tiebreaker that was even needed in a meet that we didn't really need a winner in. Well, I here's what I'm gonna say. You know, the scores were the scores, right? The final score for Oklahoma and LSU was 197-5. That was where it ended up. The reason that there was a tiebreak was because there was one trophy. Well, that one trophy needed to be given to one program, and in order to figure out who to give the trophy to, we went to a tiebreaker, which was adding in the sixth score on all of the events. And after the sixth score was added in, Oklahoma came out on top in that first session. So those were the two things that I saw kind of, floating around the internet as some questions that were happening. But overall, here's like my general event concept or idea. It was so good to be back with a stadium full of fans cheering loud. And that first session felt like the national championship all over again. In my team analysis open in the arena, I thought it was worth saying and shouting out that in that first session, we had the winner of the SEC championship, which was LSU, the winner of the Big Ten championship, which was UCLA, the winner of the Big 12 championship, which was Utah, and we had the 2025 NCAA champions, which was Oklahoma, all competing at the same time. So, what an amazing moment for our sport to be able to kind of kick off. I know it was week two, the season with such an amazing competition, but of course, deserving the opportunity as well to be on ABC. So, those are some of the notes that I was going to bring up.
Well, when you put it that way, I mean, talk about a way to launch your season for some of these teams. I mean, that is totally remarkable. Well, I watched it remotely. I actually, my boyfriend is a Packers fan, and if anyone is a football fan out there, the Packers played the Bears. It's tricky because I'm from Chicago, but I want to support him. So I watched session two from a Packers bar, but I did see a good amount of it, and it was so much fun watching you do your thing, Core. And shout out to all the amazing athletes. So it was just such a solid way to start the season for many teams. But
I have one more note that I wanted to add, which was this discussion I saw on Twitter X about how the teams were chosen and why, like, there was a discussion about why Missouri was left out of this because it kind of felt like why would they take four of the five teams and not just bring in the four teams from nationals? So, what I want to put to rest is that actually, this past weekend, the teams that will be competing in the 2027 Sprouts Farmers Market Collegiate Quad were decided. So I want you to take back time when the teams that were decided for the 2026 Sprouts Farmers Market Collegiate Quad, which happened this past weekend, they contractually hopped into that event a year ago. So we didn't know what the final four were going to be like. But that also makes it even more special to see, the conference champion and NCAA champion kind of storyline that we had there. And it was four teams. Like, as everyone in our sport knows, any given day, it's anyone's game. So this was not a calculated situation of trying to make sure that we replicated the national championship four on the floor moment at all. And no one was left out in this situation. It was just contractually who ESPN events went after to, be a part of this event. And the eight teams that you saw compete were the ones that were decided for the 2026 event.
I had no idea. I actually thought the same thing in the back of my mind, and it's very divine intervention that it ended up being such a remarkably, for lack of a better word, perfect session where you had champions from four different specific areas from nationals, SEC, Big Ten, and then Pac-12. So that's amazing and great note. I had no idea, so I learned something here. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. It's not for me to announce, but the location of the 2027 Sprouts Farmers Market Collegiate Quad has been decided. So I will not be just saying that here, but there will be an event in 2027, and it will not be in one of the other of the locations that it has already been in. So everyone can look forward to an announcement for that in the future.
Love that. Well, speaking of this competition, I had so much I wanted to talk about. And I know you and I briefly over text had a lot we wanted to discuss, specifically pertaining to transfers and newbies. So,
Oh.
freshies and athletes who have transferred between teams. And honestly, I think we should just kind of go one at a time and like share a few that stuck out to us. So, Corey, you were on the ground. So, you go first. Give me a couple of your like newbies transfers that just completely blew your mind this weekend.
Okay, I'm gonna have to start with the Oklahoma Sooners. They have two freshmen that are on their team, obviously replacing an incredible senior class that, graduated last year in Audrey Davis, Jordan Bowers, things, people that of that caliber. But everyone needs to keep their eyes on Mackenzie Estep and Ella Murphy. Mackenzie was in, I believe, three lineups this past weekend, and she crushed all three of them. Ella Murphy is a joy to watch, and she is radiating energy and positivity in the corrals and with her team. We've obviously seen her that handstand hold in the preseason, but all of her gymnastics, when it came to saluting the judge, also really matched up with it. So I had to shout those two out as two that really stood out to me.
That's amazing. I couldn't agree more with you. Those were a few that stuck out to me. In that same session, I want to talk about LSU really quickly because, in the offseason, we mentioned that LSU really played the transfer game incredibly well. Courtney Blackson is one of the athletes I wanted to talk about, came back from a year off. She Helen Hood, and then we had a couple of different athletes join the team. So let's talk about that really quick. Courtney Blackson comes back after a year off, performs on vault and bars for the Tigers, looked fantastic. And it just warmed my heart seeing her so happy and so excited and truly in the form that she left college with
Yeah.
a couple years ago. And so I was just wildly impressed with her. And another one that had just thoroughly impressed me, and I'd love to see her shine, is Emily Innes, transfer from the University of Washington, still wearing purple. So I love that for her. She was the floor leadoff. And that was the first event, as you mentioned, Corey, for the Tigers. So Emily Innes, newbie on this Tiger squad, is the leadoff on floor, and she started their season for them. I loved that. So those were two newbies transfers that really stuck out to me in this meet.
I mean, Emily having to take that roster spot or that lineup spot of Sierra Ballard is some big shoes to fill. You know what
Oh
I'm
yeah.
saying? That is some big shoes to fill, but she did it awesome. Like nice job. And it was so fun to see Emily. We've had her on and on the floor of the Liv and Cor episode. I had a Big Tens last year, and it was so fun to get to catch up with her then. The other two LSU athletes I want to mention are Maddie Ulrich, who's a transfer from Denver. Nice work. Like we saw some really great gymnastics from her, and it was just really fun to see her do her thing. And then I also just want to shout out Nina Ballou. She's going to be a very exciting athlete to watch. I know coming out of her developmental program career, everyone was really excited to see what Nina Ballou was going to do as a Tiger. And so I think we're already seeing that opening with a huge double A out on floor, and some really nice choreography that's like very Nina, and she has so much energy and so much personality. It's going to be really fun.
Great
Okay,
additions.
moving on. Some more newcomers and transfers from just the Sprouts meet. I'm going to go through a couple. One, I want to mention Tanya Paulson from Cal. Um, a gorgeous gymnast, like objectively a gorgeous athlete. All the way around. I will say on practice day, we didn't see a ton of Tanya doing gymnastics. I think that she had like a little bit of something that was lingering from their first meet. And so I wasn't actually sure. I actually left her out of my team analysis open because I wasn't sure what gymnastics we were going to see from her this weekend. But we ended up seeing fantastic gymnastics from her. And I caught up with her after, and she's just a lovely human being with tons of personality. And I mean, I'm like, what are you studying? And she's like, law. I want to be a lawyer. I want to run the world. And I was like, oh my gosh, are you gonna run the world in the United States or run the world in Sweden? She goes, I don't care. Ask me in a couple years. I'm like, okay, period. Let's go.
She and
Um,
Sierra Brooks should just get together and campaign. I mean, you got my vote.
you have our vote. Yes. And then the last one that I wanted to mention, was Kentucky. So coming into the Sprouts Farmers Market Collegiate Quad, um, I really had my eyes on Kreslin Bros. That was my athlete from Kentucky that I was like, what's she gonna do? We had mentioned and talked about Delaney Rodriguez for a while. Rodriguez, is that her last name? Yeah, Delaney Rodriguez. Yep. Um, but Kreslin Bros was the big question mark. And as people on the gym internet were talking about this weekend, everyone is very concerned about Kreslin. I will tell you, because I don't have approval or anything to talk about what's going on with Kreslin, but I will tell you that she was doing some semblances of gymnastics on training day. So it just is not, she's not ready. She's not there. I don't know what this particular situation is. It's not for me to talk about. But Kreslin Rose is not down for the count, injured, out for the season. It looks like we're still working towards getting her ready for those lineups. What I wanted to mention in the topic of transfers and newcomers, 70% of Kentucky's routines that were performed on Saturday were new to the lineup. 17 routines out of 24 routines had not been in the lineup from last year.
Whoa.
17. Isn't that insane?
That's like era shifting, right? Like that is wild.
You know, it's one thing when you're trying to give someone an opportunity, right? You're like, let's put them in and see what they do when they salute the judge. But to do that with
Right.
17 people, with 70% of your four events first meet out, insane, insane. So
Wow.
they might not be newcomers to the team, they might not be transfers, but they were surely new to us to see them in the lineup. So I had to throw that down.
That's an important one, I think, for us all to keep watching Kentucky through the lens, of course, of fans, but also as just being impressed with this new faces and new people that we get to watch. So very excited about that. Well, it only makes sense for me to round this out with highlighting some Big Ten athletes because you know the Big Ten has my heart. And first and foremost, I just want to give a massive shout out to our girl Tiana Sumana. She competed last weekend in their, excuse me, week one for them on bars in the exhibition role, received a 9.85 and competed in the lineup this week. So first actual lineup counting score position for her 9.9. Brilliant work. We saw that 9.95 from her week one. And so clearly she's getting herself comfortable in the college competition setting, but massive kudos to her for that brilliant routine in her first time in the lineup. And then two others that just stood out to me, Lilia Kosman from Michigan State. She competed on bars. She looked great. I just think she is going to completely kill it in college. And she's moving a little bit slower. And the coaches actually told me that when I saw them back in October. But I think the rise is only going to continue. And I'm just thrilled for her and her journey in college. So shout out to her. And then finally, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Quincy Walters, freshman at the University of Michigan. First time competing as a Wolverine on balance beam and goes 9.95. So that's giving very, very Brooklyn Row Ray. Like first time you compete, go 995, 9975 was Brooklyn a couple years ago. I just like major shout out. I can't even fathom like putting myself in her shoes and being on a podium first time and going 995 on beam. Like Queen Stan, I'm up. Obsessed. Shout out. Way to go.
Yeah, and I think to round out this concept of newcomers, we also saw a newcomer in the head coaching role with the University of Michigan head coach. We also saw there was some other ones. Oh, Cal, we had Geraldine, a newcomer to the head coaching role there. Um, and what did we have any in the first session?
Well,
No.
Haley Bryant.
Haley Bryant was new to that coaching staff. That's correct. That's correct. You know, it was also fun seeing Grace McCallum and Miley O'Keefe on the floor with Utah. So, it was fun. So I just wanted to shout those out as newcomers as well. Okay, I'm gonna take this one away from Sprouts. Any other further questions or dialogue on the topic, Olivia?
No further questions. Please proceed.
Okay, please proceed. Wow, all of a sudden we went to the Tanya Paulson School of Law. Um, so also feels like it could be merch. Anyways, um, okay, I want to have a discussion about a dual meet that both of us watched, a candid discussion on it. We picked a meet, we both watched it, and we just wanted to chit chat about it for a second. So we this week chose the Arkansas versus Minnesota dual meet matchup. Okay, to get things started, I just want to say one thing. This is a wild meet for Arkansas to start as their first meet of the season. This was this was a great matchup between the two of them. This was Minnesota's second meet of their season as they opened last weekend against Utah and Iowa in Utah. Um, but it was a really good meet, and it was also really close the whole way through. So, Liv, I want you to lead this discussion that you want to have about the Arkansas versus Minnesota dual meet matchup in Minneapolis.
Totally. I think to start, to echo what you said, these are very, in my mind at least, and please correct me or disagree with me on Twitter X if you do. I believe these are very evenly matched teams. I think they have incredibly talented newcomers on both sides who, with more reps and competition experience, are going to be unstoppable. And I think they have some veterans and people that, Morgan Price joining the squad from Fisk, which is
Yeah.
so remarkable to be with her sister. And then you also have from Minnesota, you have Gianna Gertis coming back after she Helen Hood and Lauren Pearl staying around. I mean, very equal in terms of competition experience. And you saw that in a very positive way. For instance, I thought, both teams on vault, we saw a stick from Allison Cucci, excuse me, on a 1.5 stunner. We saw some really big vaults from Minnesota as well to start things off. So I thought event by event wise, they really lined up with each other. We saw a bunch of sticks on bars from both teams. We saw, some hops forward, backwards as well. But we could go routine by routine for this competition. But what I really want to touch on is what you mentioned of how close it was. And these were above 197 scores for both of these teams, which is excellent for first and second meets of the season. But there's been some rumblings. I noticed this, and I saw a couple things on social regarding a potential out of bounds deduction that was not taken, that had it been taken, would have potentially swapped the final score and who won the meet. So for anyone who's not aware, the University of Minnesota won, I believe, by 75 hundredths. It was like very, very close. And again, what a showing for both teams. At the end of the day, obviously it's great to come out with a win, but what an NQS score for both of them, specifically Arkansas away, like hello. What I noticed and what I've heard is Leah Gonczarowski from Minnesota does an absolutely breathtaking full twisting double tuck. And I saw out of bounds or her toes were on the line. And I didn't see a judge put a flag up or anything. So the discussion was, had that out of bounds been taken, her score still would have counted. She was not the drop score. That would have then flopped it, and Arkansas would have won by 25 hundredths, I believe is what the math would have been. So this is a discussion about the fact that it's 2026. That's crazy to say. It's 2026, and we are still sitting here determining win losses by a potential out of bounds that was or was not taken. Now, this is not Leah's fault, obviously. She did a beautiful routine, and she's incredibly talented and excellent. And I'm going to be yes, the judges should have been watching, but I actually don't think this is all on the judges as well. I think this is as simple as, how is it 2026 and we have AI and potentially like robots? And like when I was in LA for the Rose Bowl, I saw those self-driving cars. Excuse me, never. That is so scary. We have this, but we can't create a technology that point blank tells you if you are out of bounds or not on floor. That leaves me speechless because I think it's time. I don't know what that would look like. I'm no technician. I'm no engineer. Don't look at me to implement this by any means. But it just begs the question of, as we continue through the season and win losses mean more than a dual meet at the top of the year, how can we make sure that these types of deductions that are they are black and white. You're either out of bounds or you're not in terms of taking the 10th. How can we make it so that this is determined by technology so that we can have accuracy in team totals and win losses and whatnot? That's my rant. It's not on Leah. Yes, the judges should have caught it, but also maybe at their angle they didn't see it, and that's not their fault either. They can't just like get up and peek and be like, "Ooh, was that that?" This is just a classic. Can technology fix this issue? And I'm here to say I firmly believe it can.
There's not very many things in our sport that have a very objective status to them, but out of bounds is one of them. So I do completely agree with you. I think, the non-gymnastics fan who doesn't understand scoring, who doesn't understand routine composition, doesn't understand all that goes into how a judge comes up with this score that is very obscure and differs by half of tenths, so different than any other sport. A touchdown is 6 points. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But we now have things like pylon cams in football, and we have things like in tennis, we have no more line judges because the moment a ball is out of bounds, a audible sound goes off and says it was out of bounds, and the players can no longer replay and say that they think that that actually was incorrect because it's no longer human. It is some sort of AI video concept that knows that objectively the ball was out of bounds. So I completely agree with you. I don't want us, and I'm going to speak for Olivia on this. I don't want this to go misunderstood or misinterpreted. We are only suggesting using some level of AI for the concept of a line judge on floor. Things like a foot out of bounds, a heel out of bounds, a toe out of bounds, whatever the case may be, following exactly the rules of what needs to cross the plane of the line or, put your foot down on the line, right? We've seen many people like have their toes right on the edge, but their heel might be over, and that's not technically out of bounds. It's when you put it down, right? We can potentially move towards having this become very objective. So I agree with you. I did look at the Verdius card, and there is no neutral deduction marked for Leah Gonzarowski's floor score. So they did not take the 1/10. But to your point, we also weren't there. It sure as heck looked like it on TV. But at the end of the day, wins and losses don't really mean a ton in our sport either. And you're right, the NQS was great. Um, but wins and losses do mean something to the pride of the team. And it feels good to walk away with like knowing that it was correct. So I think walking away knowing that something like this had happened and it costed them this feeling of the win, is an interesting topic. So I kind of agree with you, Liv.
The final thing I'll say, because we most certainly need to move forward, is if there's any judges here, they're listening. I know, it's hard to be a gymnastics judge. The way I view this potential is this would really help judges not feel the deeply gutted, like, difficulty that comes with needing to subjectively identify if an athlete was in or out of bounds. Sometimes it's obvious, but sometimes it's not. And I can't imagine being a judge sitting there having to do my job with identifying the skills, the start value, and then the deductions, also needing to be mindful of the out of bounds. And yes, I know there's line judges who are doing that, but as a judge, of course, you're watching too, and there can be conferences regarding this. So my hope is that some technology can save us of this terror, and we can no longer have to deal with any of this controversy, and we can just be a part of a sport that can take away some of the subjectivity and make it a little clearer for fans, make it clearer for judges, make it clearer for student athletes and coaches. So that's my rant. I hope if someone's listening and you're an engineer, like, give me a holler because I'd love to gab and talk about this, but like I'm not technologically savvy as far as I can throw anything. So don't look at me to solve this, but I think there's potential here and I would love to see it come to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, someone's gonna get the intellectual property, the invention that makes this happen. So someone makes some money off of it. Hey. All right, moving on to something that I wanted to chat about, and I saw a lot about on the socials this weekend, was there were some program records that got thrown down in week two, and it was so, so exciting. So I want to list those out. I saw five that we wanted to highlight right now. Up first, a Michigan balance beam record. Michigan threw down a 49.65 on balance beam, and if you haven't watched it, go back and watch the art that was that lineup of six athletes at the Sprouts Farmers Market Collegiate Quad. Up next, Texas Women's University had their highest home opener and season opener score, which was very exciting. Nice job to Texas Women's. Penn State had their highest home opener score. UW, University of Wisconsin, Eau Claire had their highest home opener score, and the University of North Carolina Tar Heels had the highest season opening road score in their program history. So those are five incredible records that were set this weekend, and it is a feat to set those records, but it is exciting momentum as we head into the 2026 season. Okay, our next bit that we want to tackle, and this could become a weekly bit. I don't know, Liv. It might help us because I think that this might help us be able to talk a lot about all these athletes, but really just get viewers and listeners to the podcast to go and watch these athletes throughout the season. But what we're going to be doing is we are going to be covering Liv and Cor's top three of week two. So how this is going to work is Olivia is going to say her top three on each event and the all around. And after she gives me her top three on vault, I will give her my top three on vault. And there might be overlap. You never know. But we're going to quickly run through our top three on each event. So let's start on vault because why? Olympic
Olympic
order.
order.
So,
I
Olivia,
love
who are your top three on vault in week two?
you guys. This was really hard for many reasons if you watched Vault this weekend, but here we go. My top three. Number one, from the University of Arkansas, Allison Cucci, stuck Yurchenko 1.5. It was stunning. Shout out, Allison. Number two, from Penn State University, Ava Piedrahita came back after a torn ACL. We missed her so much last year, and watching her compete just brought me immense joy. So, Ava, love you. So proud of you. And finally, I would be remiss to not mention Avery Neff, the first perfect 10 of 2026. And from the angle I saw it, it looked brilliant. It was a 10-10. It was floaty. It was chest position on the landing was to die. I just, well done to Avery and shout out for being in the record book as the first 10 of the season.
So, so cool. Helen Hu got the first perfect 10 in 2025, and Avery Neff got the first perfect 10 in 2026, and it feels right. Okay, we have no repeats. My top three on vault. Sophia Bell from the University of Auburn. Sophia Bell threw down the very first ever Yurchenko double twist for an Auburn athlete, and it was a good one, let me tell you. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. Up second, I'm highlighting LSU's Maddie Ulrich with her front pike half on vault, which was beautiful. A great landing position as well. I'm not saying it was perfect by any means, but I want to say that stuck front pike half is a pleasure to watch as it is replacing the Haley Bryant front pike half that we are missing right now. I'm not saying they look the same, but we do get to see it in the LSU lineup. So great job to Maddie Ulrich. And my last one, you talked about Avery Neff in that Utah lineup, but I have to give mention to Ashley Glynn's amazing Yurchenko 1.5 that came a little earlier in the lineup. Holy moly, it was also so beautiful. So all around, our top threes on vault were some amazing vaults in week two.
Those were great. Additional add-on, I know we said three, but quick shout out to Hannah Horton 9975 on that Yurchenko 1.5. It was just to die for.
Amazing. Okay, let's swing on over to bars.
You did it! Okay, I'm going to kick it off with Iowa freshman Daisy Bowles, 9.9 on uneven bars. She competed. This is what makes it great for me. She learned a new bar dismount blindfold double tuck 4 days before competing it and nailing it. The team goes nuts in the background. It's so awesome. Shout out to her. So excited to keep watching her in her college career. Second one for me is Azariah Ra Akbar. You guys, this routine had it all. It had amplitude, it had height, it had toe point, it had difficulty, and it had a stuck landing. And it was so good that it was a 9975 in her first ever routine in college. I don't have much more to say besides that. It was a stunner. There are no words to describe how excited I am to continue watching her. Just massive. And my final one is our girl Sky Blakely keeping the Downy Pack combo in her bar routine. It is gorge. She's gorge. That routine is gorge. End scene.
Again, no repeats. Up first, I have to give a shout out to first up in the Stanford lineup is Levi Jung Reviviar. She went 9875 in the leadoff position, and it is a gorgeous routine. And what I have to say is this is begging the question is will they move her down further in the lineup or is Levi going to be that staple, that solid as a rock athlete that Stanford needs to kick off an amazing lineup. So excited to keep watching Levi this season. Up next, I have to give a big shout out to Clemson's Ella Cesario. She went up and did a beautiful 9-9 bar routine, which was absolutely stunning, gorgeous lines, the beautiful toe point, a really nice big release. Ella, we're big fans of yours here, so keep swinging those bars like a champ. And then I'm gonna do a little plot twist here, cause I can. Um, in my third position, I'm going to give it to the two exhibition performances that we saw from the University of Arkansas on bars this past week at their meet in Minnesota. Luckily, on Big Ten Plus, they were showing all of the exhibition routines. And in the exhibition one position, we saw freshman Avalon Campbell, who's from California. She threw down a 9725 routine, but the lines are there. I see it. It's just a matter of confidence and a little bit of time. She's also coming back from an ACL injury, and so I know it's a slow back to play protocol, but Avalon Campbell has the lines, the toe point, the skills, all of the makings of making that lineup for Arkansas before you know it. The other Arkansas exhibition was another freshman. Addie Bear went up and threw down a 9-8 routine with amazing releases, great bar work, and a stuck dismount, stuck beautiful double A dismount. And so I had to give credit where credit was due, and I'm giving it to the Arkansas exhibition athletes on bars.
I love that. Well done. I have a feeling we'll see those in the lineup. So great call outs, Core. All right, let's balance over to Beam. I'm going to start with Jordan Leiden from the University of Minnesota, anchor on balance beam in the duel against Arkansas. As we mentioned, incredibly tight competition. Absolutely nailed it. 9-9. I believe it's her career high as well. So shout out to Jordan. Big fan of yours and just keep rocking, girlfriend. I have to give flowers to the new Helen Who, that is Addison Lawrence, who is not the new Helen Who because she is so good. Back to back weeks of 9.95 performances in the anchor spot for Mizzou. Talk about living up to the standard. Girlfriend, you're slaying. And finally, for me, I'm giving it to two athletes. I'm cheating. The double tuck queens, Nikki Smith and Jazara Ranger. We saw two double tucks in that second session of Sprouts Farmers Market Collegiate Quad, and they both stuck. And they were sticks. Hold, salute, breathtaking, beautiful. Shout out to them for keeping the double tuck love alive. We love the difficulty.
How are we not aligning on any of these? But it just shows the variety of how many amazing pieces of gymnastics are happening week in and week out in NCAA gymnastics. Okay, up first, I got to give it to the anchor on the Arkansas beam lineup. That's Jocelyn Robertson. She got up there, and in my opinion, that was a 10.0 beam routine. It was. It was beautiful. We love the pike jump. We love the punch front full off the end dismount. Also, the back half of her routine when she throws down the side aerial layout step out, it's like she's like waiting and waiting and waiting, and everyone forgets that she still hasn't done her series yet, and then she does a perfect side aerial layout step out. It's amazing. So Jocelyn is my number one pick for my beam lineup this week. Up next, we've been talking about her, and now you guys finally got to see it from Michigan State. Isabella Trostel. You guys, if you haven't seen the 9925 beam routine she threw down at Sprouts, you must go and watch. But laser focus on the unoti beat jump that she does in her routine. It's amazing. She did it. I like made this face and I made eye contact with head coach Mike Rowe, and he was like, I know. Yep. And my last pick that I want to bring attention to on Beam is Gabby Van Frayen from University of Kentucky. Now, this one was surprising to me. I did not know about Gabby. She is a freshman on the Kentucky roster. Remember, we were talking about all of the new people that they found in their lineups. Her series on Beam is a back handspring connected to an anoti. When I tell you that I about fell over, and I'll be honest, in that moment, I whipped my head around and I made eye contact with Jordan Childs, and both of us were like, come on, girl, you just slayed that. And that's how good it was. Yeah. So, everyone, keep an eye on Gabby Van Fran from the University of Kentucky with those Wildcats this season. But all of these beam routines, I'm telling you, what a year to balance on the beam.
And a noti on the beam.
My goodness.
Okay, let's tumble to floor. This was really hard. Okay, this was really hard. My first one goes to UNC freshman Sydney Seabrooks. Wow, is all I have to say. 995 collegiate debut on floor. She has it. She has the wow factor, the dance, the confidence, the performance, the tumbling. What a superstar. I'm a huge, 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 huge fan of hers. And so cool for her to contribute to that program record for UNC in the highest opening road score. So shout out, shout out, shout out. My second one goes to University of Arizona. Sophie Durr competed a Hamilton floor routine, and it was funky. Like, that takes a very specific type of dance and comfort to do what she did. I thought it was incredibly well done. The tumbling was excellent. The jumps, her straddle position was to die. So great routine. If you have not watched that, Hamilton commented and said that they loved it and I loved it. So massive shout out. And my final one, we all love her for her split positions, and she delivered once again. Maryland's Maddie Komarovsky ending her routine with a round off 1.5. Brandy to a split jump from the gods. It gave that Audrey Davis where she split and clapped. It was pretty much the same type of wow, breathtaking factor. It was beautiful. She's just a joy to watch across the board. And I would be remiss to not mention that moment. As Kathy Johnson Clark would say, put it on a stamp. And I think that should go on a stamp.
Oh, amazing. Amazing. Those are some really great ones. Okay, I'm gonna get started with Denver's Cece Cooley, who went 9975 in floor. But specifically, I want to mention her New York themed floor routine. Lots of great mashup music that's happening in Cece's floor routine. Really fun. Great tumbling, great leaps. Really impressed with what Cece's throwing down this season at the University of Denver. Up next, I want to give a big shout out to Sienna Alipio of UCLA breaking into the floor lineup this week. We got to see her do an exhibition routine at the Best of the West quad in week one, and this week she was in the lineup and she threw down a great routine. Although the judges did not necessarily agree, not really sure what that was, but Sienna does beautiful floor work. She emotes with her floor routine and the artistry she gives, and I love that she made it in the lineup. And finally, my last floor top three performer is going to CJ Konecki of Cal Bears. And here's what I'm going to say. If you want to know why I'm picking CJ Konecki in this position, you have to listen to On the Floor with Liv and Cor because we're about to tell you about that in the episode that we're currently recording. And you're going to have to come back and listen to it then. But all I'm going to say is that Berkeley education is absolutely serving CJ. So those are my floor workers.
Love those. Those were great. I'm so impressed by us.
Yeah, we did it. We did it. Okay, do you have any all-arounders that you want to shout out?
I do. I have two that I want to shout out.
Okay,
And the
let's
first
go.
one is Maggie Slife from Air Force. So this reel was sent to me by Evan Heider, and he was like, "Have you guys seen this? If you haven't watched her, go to Air Force's Instagram. That's where I saw the content. 1.5 on vault, huge releases on bars with a stuck. She goes, I believe it's a clear hip or a stalder, I don't remember, into a full twisting double tuck. Very much Mika Webster Longen, who also does that connection. Beautiful. Beam was, I'm not joking you. I saw not a mistake. Beam was stunning, stuck round off 1.5 at the end. It was beautiful. And she does a full in on floor that is massive. Beautiful control on the landing. I believe she went like 39.45, which seems low to me given what I saw. That is an athlete who deserves all the flowers, all the attention, all the love. She looked brilliant this weekend. So if you're not aware of Maggie's life, you should be now from Air Force. And my second one goes to Chloe Cho. The Cho Show from down in Champaign. Chloe Cho continues to deliver in her sophomore season, and it's just the start of another fantastic year for her.
Amazing. Okay, my all-arounders. I'm giving flowers to the NCAA debut of Anna Barbosu of Stanford. It was a performance everyone was looking forward to. And I know she has more left in the tank that she's going to bring to us this season, but I had to give her some flowers in our top all-arounders of the week. The next one, I'm giving it to Ali Cucci, freshman from the University of Arkansas, put together an amazing performance in Minneapolis this past weekend, and it was also cool because she got to perform at home, her hometown, because she had been training at Twin City Twisters for a few years. So it was very fun for her to get to go home and have her debut collegiate performance happen in her hometown, and she did phenomenally well. And my last one that I'm going to just give a big shout out to was Jordan Chiles. I'm telling you, this athlete is one that we need to keep, like, just keep watching and just be so thankful to get to see the level of gymnastics that we're getting to see from her, and the way that she does it. Insider info, she was not feeling well at all this past week. I was in podium training. I was watching her like wipe her nose, and she just like was like feeling her body wasn't feeling great. And podium training can just be podium training. And for an athlete like Jordan to show up and throw down some great gymnastics when her team needed it, she did it. And I just wanted to make sure that her flowers were given as well. So well done to all of the all-arounders in week two. We can't wait to keep watching you do gymnastics.
I have
Olivia?
one more, and I would be remiss to not mention Alabama freshman Azariah Rockbar. I mentioned her on bars, but as a full package, I believe she exhibitioned beam. So I don't think she actually competed fully in the all around for counting scores, but my word, is she brilliant. No, no notes.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. So you guys, if you're listening to this episode right now, we hope that you go and do a ton of more research on the like a lot of athletes that we just talked about. We wanted to talk about them. We wanted to bring attention to them. We wanted to make sure that you knew about them, that you heard their names. But quite literally, these episodes would turn into 2 hour long episodes if we broke down all of the things that we wanted to celebrate in all of these athletes. And that's why we're going to turn it into this like top three segment. But to round out our episode today, we're gonna unpack just a couple of these that we wanted to bring some attention to. So Olivia, I'll lead the way on this and have you, contribute to where I think that we need to bring some attention. So we'll start over on vault. We talked about some great Yurchenko 1.5s that happened this weekend, but I also just can you unpack a little bit more about what you saw from Avery Neff's vault this weekend. I mean, it was the 10 of the weekend. What I saw was this like open up moment with hips coming right out into that last half of a twist. But what did you see that made your Avery's 1.5 just so amazing?
So, besides the fact that it's executed beautifully, and by that I mean legs together, toes pointed, I saw somewhere that someone had mentioned there was a little knee bend going into the landing. It was at a diagonal view. Okay, she's getting ready to land. I get it. Subjectivity, I get it. But what I think is so brilliant about her vault is the block is in the middle of the table and the vault does not rotate to either side. And there was a view that ESPN had that was head on to the vault. And as many of you are aware, there's now lines on the mat that is not the same as stepping out of bounds, where you would get like an automatic tenth or whatnot. It's a guiding principle for the judges. She was nowhere near the lines. She was right in the middle where she needed to be. And that just indicates excellent awareness, technique, really squaring herself on the round off in order to be straight on the back handspring into the Yurchenko, into the block, directly into the 1.5. It was just lovely and very technically correct. And I'm so happy for her that she received that score because she deserves it. And just the hold on the landing, it was just
Yeah.
lovely.
While we're talking about landing holds, I feel like everyone across the board has been really doing well with that, to be honest.
Totally agreed.
There's been only a couple that I've watched like kind of slips their mind for a second. And I can definitely tell that they've been working on it in the gym because you have those occasional athletes that like look over to their coach and be like, "Have I held it long enough?" Which has been hilarious. But no, I think the landings have been great. But yes, thanks for those notes on Avery. Okay, let's swing on over to bars. Two that I want to mention. One I want to talk about is Tiana Sumanosacra making the bar lineup this year or this week with a 9-9 bar routine date in her debut. She did do an exhibition at the Best of the West quad in week 1 for a 9.85, but Tiana's bars look gorgeous and it's really exciting to have those in the lineup. And then the one I wanted you to talk about was what did you see from these gorgeous oh no, I know what I want you to talk about. I'm pivoting and it's not in our notes.
Hit me with it.
Casey Brown from Cal. Live reaction.
So here's the thing about Casey Brown for me. The hardest thing for her is hitting handstands. That's it. She's the what she does, the pack is floaty, the Van Leeuwen is massive, the dismount is massive. It's just the handstands for her. I firmly believe Casey Brown could go 9-9 plus every single weekend if she can nail the handstands. And as a fellow handstander who struggled, I get it, especially when you're nervous and you don't want to overcast it with adrenaline, but sometimes that leads to the short, which then makes it a Mr. Toad's Wild Ride to get yourself back to center on your bar routine. But that routine is so beautiful. It's a treat every time. And her lines are just excellent. She and Kayla Tucker from Michigan State remind me a lot of each other. They're tall, their legs are long and beautiful. And it's just so impressive to me that the two of them can swing bars as well as they do, given their height. Very, very, very impressive.
Honorable mention on bars that I wanted to shout out that we weren't in it, wasn't necessarily in our top, but was a treat to get to see in my life again was Carly Bauman's amazing double front dismount. It's so good. It's so good. And she knows exactly where she is. There's another double front that's in training for the Michigan Wolverines. And when you put the two side by side, no shade, but Carly Bauman does that dismount better than many people that I've ever seen.
I
Truly,
couldn't agree more. It's
truly.
excellent.
And it like you can see the differences, but it's the way her legs are together. It's the way she gets into it with the high bar work. It's so many things, and so I had to give Carly Bauman a little shout out in this moment.
Love that.
Okay, we're going over to balance beam. I want you to take a peek at our list of who we have on beam, and if there's anyone that you want to emphasize as we, go through on beam, because I know we covered a lot of great beam workers in our top. Is there anyone else that you want to just amplify?
I'm going to take the driver's seat as an alum of Michigan really quick and share how proud I am of the team for that program record. But specifically, I mentioned Quincy Walters, freshman, just a brilliant routine. Massive shout out to Ava Jordan. Ava Jordan has not competed in the beam lineup and goes up for the first time, 995. Side aerial back handspring is so beautiful. Her lines are lovely. Just love to see student athletes working so hard in the gym and make it into the lineup, and for that to be how you start is just such an amazing confidence booster. So on top of Quincy, incredibly proud of Ava Jordan. Our girl Kaylee Boozer showed up and out on that 995 routine. It's all beautiful, don't get me wrong. I love, love, love all of it, but the dismount, to me, the way she gets height out of the back handspring into the gainer full is excellent and is textbook in my opinion. So massive shout out to her, and just for Jay-Z, the double tuck. Like, I could go on and on, but I'm just really, really impressed and proud, and wanted to make sure not just Quincy was shouted out, because that was a full team effort to get that program record, and kudos to the Wolverines.
Nice work there. Okay, we're finishing over here on floor, and I have to tell an amazing story of something I heard because I was on the ground and honestly right near the Cal Corral when CJ Konecki finished her floor routine in the Cal Bears lineup. Okay, so here's what happened. If I'm being honest, my eyes were not on the floor during CJ's routine. My eyes were all over the floor, just trying to make sure I was cheering for everyone around. But as I was finishing, as CJ was coming down the stairs and everyone was high-fiving her, I was standing there and I had an ear in the corral, and I heard assistant coach Maya Lazan look at CJ holding her shoulders, and she said, "Now that's the Berkeley education for you." And I go, "Huh? What was that?" In my head, I'm like, where does Berkeley education have anything to do with the fact that she just finished a floor exercise routine? Well, now I want to encourage everyone to go back and watch CJ's routine. If you remember, in On the Floor with Liv and Cor episode 27, we mentioned that there were a couple athletes last in week one that didn't get their double wolf turn all the way around, which then devalues the skill because a double wolf turn is a D, which you get an extra tenth for, and a wolf 1.5 is a C, which you do not get an extra tenth for its skill by itself. So what happened was this Berkeley education kicked in. When CJ went down to do her double wolf turn, she only got to the 1.5 position. Then she thought on her feet. She, I think, did maybe a choreography moment. And then she got back down and attempted another double wolf turn. And she did it to the completion of the double position so that she could get the extra tenth and have the start value start from a 10. That is an athlete who understands the code, understands what she needs in order to maximize her score, maximize her start value, what she needs to do, and to think on her feet to know where in the routine she could put that extra skill without compromising, the length of time she has or anything of that nature. And she was brilliant for doing it in that way. So I just wanted to make sure that we shout this one out because go back and watch. These athletes are smart. They are student athletes for a reason. They are smart. They train these routines week in and week out. And I want to give CJ Konecki from Cal her flowers for doing an amazing job thinking on her feet in that way. And yes, in the words of Maya Lazan, that Berkeley education is paying off.
It's just a reminder how important it is to know the code, whether you're a coach, a fan, a broadcaster, student athlete. Just brava is all I have to say. That is what I like to call a student athlete.
Brilliant. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Well, that about does it for our episode today. I mean, we covered so much ground. Olivia, are you tired?
No, I'm never tired when it comes to
I
gymnastics.
know. I'm like feeling the adrenaline. My goodness, the adrenaline. But we're heading into week three coming up this next weekend. So we hope when you listen to this episode, if you listen to it on the release date on Wednesday, we're looking forward to some great matchups. Olivia and I have some momentum going into the next few weeks, a little bit of craziness, a little bit of busyness. I can tell you what I'm doing. You're not going to hear what Olivia's doing just yet, but I am heading down to Fayetteville for my seventh season as the hype man for the Arkansas Razorbacks. So I will be there this weekend for the matchup against Auburn and staying for the matchup next weekend against SEMO, where they come to town for our first Friday night meet, which will be very fun. So I'm excited to get down and hang out with the Razorbacks for the first time this season. I got to see their floor routines in the meet against Minnesota, but other than that, I haven't seen anything yet. So it's going to be a fun weekend heading down to get Hype Man jersey back on and hanging with the people of Northwest Arkansas.
Oh, I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. And keep checking on Olivia's social media and on the floor underscore on Instagram and on TikTok because we have some fun social that's being posted, but especially because you're going to see a fun announcement that gets posted next week about what Olivia will be up to coming up very soon. So, with that being said, we're going to close out this episode. We gave you a full hour for those that love the hour. And if those that don't love the hour, that have been walking on a treadmill for a whole hour, well, you're welcome. You are so welcome. I hope this made your time go by quickly. Go and watch a ton of gymnastics. Go and research all the people you heard about on this episode. But we're going to try our best to keep covering all of this on social as well. Our girl Lauren is helping us out a ton on Instagram and TikTok. She's absolutely crushing it. So big shout out to our friend Lauren who's helping us out. And with that, we're going to close it up and say goodbye. So hope you guys have a great rest of your week and a great weekend ahead. See you later. Bye bye.